Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for the national anthem and alma mater. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon. My name is Jack Tapper, and I sincerely appreciate the opportunity to speak here today. I'd like to start off by thanking everyone who has supported me along the way. My mom, my dad, my sisters Lila and Leah, my incredible group of friends, my fellow volunteers in the Chatham Emergency Squad, and our teachers, counselors, and administrators have all played a key role in getting me to where I am today. I cannot thank you enough for your endless encouragement. I'd now like to congratulate the Chatham High School class of 2022. After 13 long years, we finally made it to this point. We've come so far, and I'd like to look back on the road we took to get here. Let's start with kindergarten, back when our biggest worries were coloring inside the lines and not being it during game of tag. Then came first grade, the time when we exchanged our picture books for chapter books and first learned what homework was. Then we progressed to our first big milestone, the end of third grade, when we graduated from our respective elementary schools and prepared to enter Lafayette. Lafayette was the first time our class, the great class of 2022, was all together in one place. It was the place where we learned to switch between teachers for different subjects, and where we made gigantic papier-mâché heads for the head show. It was where we received the talk in health class, and where many of us joined band and orchestra, only to abandon our instruments before we got to middle school. Then we got to middle school. This was when things first started to get real. We received report cards with letter grades for the very first time. Friend groups started to form, and boys realized girls did not, in fact, have cooties. Despite almost every boy in school sporting the same neon attire, middle school is when we started to become more independent. We picked which elective classes we wanted to take, we picked which sports we wanted to play, and we wanted a 3-day trip to Washington, D.C. without our parents. Then came high school. As freshmen, we navigated so much. We asked people to homecoming. We navigated getting cut from and making sports teams and joining school clubs. Then we became sophomores. Many of us signed up for our first AP class, experienced our first high school party, and started focusing more on school because our parents started mentioning this faraway place called college. Unfortunately, though, our sophomore year was cut short. After much speculation, COVID took over our lives. We said goodbye to our teachers and friends and prepared for what we thought would be 2 short weeks off from school. Quickly, though, it became apparent that the situation was much more complicated than we'd initially thought. And before we knew it, we were staying up all night, going to school through a computer screen, and seeing friends only outdoors. We had hoped the world would go back to normal by our junior year, but as the new school year approached, we quickly realized this would not be the case. We were to alternate between virtual and in-person school, attending school for only half days. Despite the circumstances being atypical, though, junior year still brought many of the standard lessons. We learned how to drive, many of us learned the tedious ins and outs of the SAT and ACT, and we started looking at colleges. But, due to the circumstances, there were also many unconventional lessons that we picked up during this year. We learned how to go through a full day of school from the comfort of our own bed, and we subsequently learned how to email a teacher after sleeping through their class. We learned how to respond to the dreaded "I have COVID" text from our friends, and we got accustomed to doing anything and everything while wearing a mask. Finally, after a summer where the world seemed to be returning to normal, we started our senior year with everyone in person. And despite the weeks before winter break, when almost everyone got COVID again, and the school was essentially a ghost town, the year went rather smoothly. We had homecoming, Cougar weekend, senior fashion show, senior internship, and last but certainly not least, prom and the weekend spent in gorgeous seaside heights that followed it, where miraculously, none of us got bed bugs. And now we're here, wearing our caps and gowns and ready to graduate. Some of you may feel like you've just gone through the motions, did what was expected of you. But think about how far you've come since you entered elementary school. Think about all you've overcome and the lessons you've learned along the way. Think about how much you've changed over the years, how you've adapted to new situations time and time again. What I hope to get across is the idea that you're stronger than you even know. And I hope you take this idea that you are capable of handling whatever curveball the universe decides to throw at you, and to whatever adventure you embark on next. So as you leave the Chatham bubble, as you say goodbye to the faces many of you have known for the past 13 years, as you enter a new world, the real world, remember that you're ready for whatever's to come, because you always have been, and you always will be. Thank you. Congrats, guys.
Each year, the senior class votes for a staff member to be recognized for the Distinguished Teacher Award. This year's recipient started her career in Chatham in the fall of 2009. She's been an exemplary teacher and advisor of a variety of clubs. Additionally, she's been a resource for her colleagues and a mentor for some of our new teachers. This year's Distinguished Teacher plaque reads, "The Distinguished Teacher Award is presented by the graduating class of 2022 with sincere appreciation for encouraging us to share our voices and viewpoints and for fostering our enthusiasm for the written word." The senior class has selected Mrs. Christina Lesnowich. I would like to begin the recognition of the Chatham High School 2022 Senior Scholarship recipients by presenting the Principal's Cup to our valedictorian, Jack Tapper. And our salutatorian, Stephanie Chen. At this time, I would like to ask Thomas Sennett, Karen Cashel, and Ezra Richmond to please stand and be recognized. Thomas has accepted appointment to West Point. Karen will be a member of the Air Force ROTC at Virginia Tech, and Ezra has enlisted in the Marines. Dr. Walker will continue announcing our scholarships and recipients. I would ask that you hold your applause until the last scholarship is announced, when all recipients will stand and be recognized as a group.
We're going to go off program for just a moment. I have an additional recognition to present tonight. I'd like to take this moment to recognize Darren Groh with a Distinguished Principal Award. I won't say much because I don't want to steal any thunder from his speech. But Darren has been at Chatham High School, starting as assistant principal in 2004 and at the helm as principal since 2006. We will miss his leadership and his friendship tremendously. The plaque reads, "The Distinguished Principal Award is presented to Darren Groh with sincere appreciation for the guidance, leadership, and dedication you have shown to the students and staff of Chatham High School, 2004 to 2022.
Good afternoon. I have the pleasure of reading the Chatham Community Scholarship recipients. When I read your name, I ask you just stand, and I ask everyone to hold your applause until I complete, and we'll recognize all the students at once. Principal's Cup valedictorian, Jack Stanton Tapper. Salutatorian, Stephanie Chen. American Legion Post 92 Scholarship, Cameron James Sims. Art League of the Chathams, Savannah Rose Berry. Bertha Barmakian Aspiring Artist Scholarship, Mariana Zingoni. Coach Barmakian Sportsmanship Scholarship, Catherine Clancy McManus. Chatham High School Athletic Boosters Most Accomplished Athlete Scholarships, Colin Jeffrey Fitzgerald, Sarah Elizabeth Pettigene. Chatham High School Athletic Boosters Harvey Cohen Scholarship, Grace Campbell Tortorello. Chatham Borough Scholarship Fund, Azra Ozan. Chatham Community Players Lee E. Nordholm Scholarship, Owen Whittemer. Chatham Education Association Scholarship, Grace Campbell Tortorella. Christine K. Grobert Chatham Emergency Squad Scholarship, Risha Sarana. Chatham Fishwack Festival Inc. Scholarship, Giselle Midori Hiroshima. Chatham High School PTO Scholarships, Willie Chan, Stephanie Chen, Thomas John Ronald Mackesy, Theodore Robert Manita, Risha Sarana, Jack Stanton Tapper, Zaina Qureshi, and Roma Danielle Welsh. Chatham Historical Society Margaret Keisler Scholarship, Mariana Zingoni. Chatham JC Scholarship, Sarah Fiddler, and Jack Stanton Tapper. Chatham Kiwanis Scholarships, Samuel Haynes Kaplan, Jasmine Lulu Lewin. Beth Kuhn Clark Scholarship, Carly Ann Fraunhoppel. Chatham Township PBA Scholarships, Una Boyle and Risha Sharana. Chatham Performing Arts Booster Scholarships, Band Scholarship, Mia Nadem. Choral Scholarship, Catherine Marie Latino. Orchestra Scholarship, John Patrick Foley. Theater Scholarship, Madeline Grace Boland. Multiple Discipline Scholarships, Dashel Michael Green, Roma Danielle Welsh. Chatham Rotary Scholarship, Isabella Francesca Locanti. Democratic Scholarship Committee of the Chatham Scholarship, John Patrick Foley. Greater Lafayette Classic Service Scholarships, Thomas John Ronald Mackesy and Lara Yaseskovich. Green Village Volunteer Fire Department Scholarship, Mihir Rao. Vivian K. Hill School District of the Chathams County College of Morris Scholarships, Brady Rulard and Gabriel Zarban. Austin O. Huey Scholarships of the Community Foundation of New Jersey, Calder William Dempsey, Theodore Robert Manita. Investors Bank Scholarship, Chatham Branch, Stephen Daniel Andrews. Patricia Jones Scholarship, Catherine Marjorie O'Neill. Madison Lodge 93 Free and Accepted Masons Philip T. Sproul Scholarship, Cameron James Sims. Patrolman Anthony J. Pariso Scholarship, K. Daniel Keto Stevenson. Jamie Panair Scholarship, Willie Chen. Paul E. Harris Memorial Great Reunion Award, Pranav Venugopal. Edward Joseph E. J. Schmeltz Scholarship, Eloise Hahn Hilgendorf, and Thomas Sennett. Jane and Ken Scroll Scholarship, Catherine Marie Latino. Lewis R. Sheets Scholarships, Olivia Hanley Barry, Una Boyle, Maxwell M. Carey, and Jennifer Pridham. Stephen Yohe Scholarship, Jennifer Pridham. Peter W. Stoser Scholarship, Sean Ladewig. Will all the scholarship recipients please stand to be recognized?
Good afternoon. Today is a special day for Chatham High School, our seniors, and their families. Today we recognize our seniors as they have successfully met all the requirements for graduation set forth by the School District of the Chathams and the State of New Jersey. Today is a time for celebrating, but it's also a time for reflecting. Today is a time for thanking those who have supported you over the last 18 years, but it's also a time for considering how much you accomplished on your own. Today is a time to consider the challenges you were met with along the way, but it is also a time to consider the lessons learned from facing those challenges. Today is about you meeting this milestone. Over 30 years ago, Roger Fulghum wrote a best-selling book titled, All I Really Needed to Know, I Learned in Kindergarten. While those 16 basic ideas identified in the book are still true today, we must also recognize that each of you has been faced with situations that appeared much more complex at times. Fulghum says the following: share, play fair, don't hit people, put things back where you found them, clean up your own mess, don't take things that aren't yours, say sorry when you hurt someone, and wash your hands before you eat. All of these things are critical, and they were important from when you were a little kid. They were taught and reinforced at home and when you went to school. You had the support of your parents and your teachers, but as you got older, it was you who determined if you were going to continue to exercise these qualities. You were put into situations on a daily basis that left you having to make your own decisions. You had to decide if you were going to meet and work well with different people, if you're going to have compassion and empathy for others who face different challenges than you did. You had to decide how much you were willing to do on your own to accomplish the things you felt were important to you and others. Fulghum goes on to talk about the importance of living a balanced life, the importance of working hard, but also doing other, less stressful activities. He continues talking about taking care of yourself, being aware of your surroundings, and sticking together. Think about this. 4 years ago, when you were entering high school, our message to all of you was to find a balance. Select courses that were rigorous but not overwhelming. Find areas of interest, whether it was different clubs, activities, the arts, or athletics. Leave time in your day to do the things that you wanted to do. Just be a teenager. In life, you're not always going to be able to control what lies ahead. At times, life is going to throw you a curveball when you might be expecting a fastball. The last 3 years of high school has proven this to be true. While the world was challenged with a pandemic, you were additionally challenged with a new way of learning. You spent the end of your sophomore year learning remotely, your junior year with half of your class in cohorts, and half of your senior year in a mask. This was something that you had never experienced before, nor were you able to prepare for moving forward. However, these skills, habits, and resilience that you would learn throughout the years kept you focused enough to get through these difficult times. In one way or another, you made adjustments to those curveballs and kept grinding it out over the last couple of years. The foundation that was built from those 16 basic ideas back in kindergarten served you well during these most challenging times. You all remain the people you are and stuck together to cross the finish line. Here you are today, about to graduate from Chatham High School. This is not only as good as a victory, this is like winning a championship. All of your experiences while in the district have prepared you for what you have been confronted with, as well as many challenges you may face in the future. You have grown and developed into fine young individuals, and you are all well prepared for the next chapter. Most of our seniors were born in 2004, including my daughter, Kara. This was the year I began my tenure at Chatham High School, equating to just over 4,600 work days. As the seniors and I leave Chatham High School together tonight for the last time, I'd like to thank them and the roughly 6,500 other students who have walked the halls of CHS over the last 18 years for what they've brought to the high school and the examples they have set for the underclassmen who would become our new leaders. I'd like to thank the roughly 300 colleagues with whom I've worked. It has been an honor to work alongside such dedicated and passionate people. Thank you to the nearly 10,000 CHS parents who have entrusted me and the high school staff with their children. Your support, and sometimes challenges, helped me grow as a professional and as a person. Finally, I'd like to thank my family for their support. I have been so blessed to be able to take my daughters, Daniela, Cara, and Christina, to work with me every day. To the class of 2022, I leave you with this last piece of advice as your principal. Always remember where you came from, work hard to get where you want to be, greet people with a firm handshake and a look in the eye, and be nice. You will be successful. Thank you for all you have done to make Chatham High School what it is today. Dr. LaSousa, I present to you the class of 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Groh. Hats off to you. Parents, grandparents, faculty, thank you for being here to celebrate the class of 2022. About an hour and 20 minutes or so ago, I was standing in the lobby and two graduates, I don't know their names, came up to me and asked where they should go. And I told them to follow me because I was going to the same place. And they asked me if I had butterflies. And I told them no. I wish I did, though, because I'd have a better prepared speech if I had some butterflies. And then they asked if I give the same speech every year. And I told them no, I don't do that either. And in fact, usually I don't even write down the speeches I give, so I can't remember what I say year to year. And I'm sharing that because, like Mr. Groh just said, this is sort of our last chance to hopefully deliver some words that some of you might remember, even though most of you probably won't. And for me, it was 3 years ago the last time I stood in this room and spoke to a class. And I do remember that at the time with the class of 2019, I shared with them that the second leading cause of death among college students had become suicide. And you might find it odd that I would mention that at a high school graduation. But I did so because even then, pre-pandemic, mental health related issues were already occupying a greater proportion of my time than I ever could have dreamed, especially since I've never taken a single course or had any preparation in anything to do with mental health. And that I think that when you graduate from a place like Chatham High School, as magnificent a place as it is, it's easy to develop a set of beliefs about yourself or a set of beliefs about the expectations that other people have for you that can be daunting and sometimes even overwhelming. And they also may sometimes just be flat out misperceptions. So for example, I wonder how many of you know what percentage of adults in the United States possess a college degree? 37%. Which is actually much higher than it was 20 years ago. But that means, of course, that just about 2/3 of adults in the United States do not hold a college degree. You might also think that this is a strange thing to mention at a celebration and a high school graduation. But I bring it up because it is a certainty that of the 300 or so of you here tonight, some of you are not going to graduate from college. Some of you are going to take longer than 4 years to graduate from college. Some of you are going to have friends who do not graduate from college or take longer than they would like to graduate from college. And I want you to know that that's okay. You are going to find challenges, you're going to hit roads that are bumpy, you're going to experience turbulence, or people you care about will, and it's okay. If it ever feels like you have no options, or it's the end of the world, or there's nowhere to turn, that really is never the case. Because it's also a certainty that your parents will still love you. And even if you have to have a difficult conversation with them, even if it becomes uncomfortable, even if you feel like you were a failure. Your parents are still going to be there for you when the going gets a little tough. And if there's anything that I want you to remember before you leave and you're no longer a CHS student, it's that. So don't take yourself too seriously, like I don't take myself too seriously when I don't even prepare well for a speech in front of 2,000 people. And don't ever think like you're all alone and you have nowhere to turn and there's no way out, because there always is. And leaving you with that, I'll ask you to please rise. And with the authority granted to me by the state of New Jersey and the Board of Education of the School District of the Chathams, I hereby certify the class of 2022. Congratulations.
Jack Stanton Tapper.
Lola Alvarado.
Stephanie Chen.
Ren Bailey.
Julia Margaret Brennan.
Allison Lee Bond.
Sarah Dennerline.
Karen Ann Cashel.
Jake Leonard Graziano.
Calder William Dempsey.
Dashel Michael Green.
Lucia Catherine Gaffney.
Wait, Catherine, wait. Catherine Marie Latino.
Ryan Hugh Graziano.
Molly McKenzie.
Abigail Lone Itzen.
Isha Mehta.
Madeline Liu.
Roma Danielle Welsh.
Elizabeth Yarborough Marquet. Megan Sabin.
Seren Agar.
Owen Whittemer.
Joshua Quick Allison.
Carolyn Alvarez.
Eric W. Andreasen.
Hope Tango Amend.
Stephen Daniel Andrews.
Matthew Andres.
Carol McKinnon Barton.
Brian Babovich.
Emma Badiato.
Olivia Hanley Barry.
Kyle Chapin Beebe.
Mia Angela Baumgardner.
Rebecca M. Bellotti.
Nicholas Andrea Bellis.
Kelly Catherine Burnich.
Aislinn Birmingham.
Savannah Rose Berry.
Georgia Hope Berry.
Noah Bloom.
Jonah Oliver Blanchard.
Quinn Sarah Bogue.
Christian David Bodner.
Carly Westbrook Booth.
Madeline Grace Boland.
Ryan Hardy Boyd.
Grace Boudreau.
Madeline Elizabeth Brashear.
Una Boyle.
Anis Brunchai.
Erin Maureen Brown.
Maxwell M. Carey.
Spencer Burke.
Pedro Aversi Cataruzzi.
Julia Bree Karan.
Brooke Alexandra Chazalo.
Willie Chan.
Marissa Chowdhury.
Kelsey Christine Chase.
Nicholas Ciciola.
Patrick Alistair Christie.
Liam Thomas Clark.
Thomas Andrew Cifelli.
Jack Arthur Colabrero.
Ryan Onofrio Colabrero.
Tyler Edward Cooper.
Caroline Fraser Conti.
Alexa Ann Cousin.
Kaylee Mae Coughlin.
John Charles Crowley III.
Sophia Koutras.
John Michael Cunningham.
Kirsten Joan Culleton.
Michael Lawrence D'Antoni.
Sophia Claire Kutita.
Kayla Pime De Arajo.
Jack Emmett Davenport.
Joseph Vincent DeCandia.
Jonathan Andrew DeCandia.
Charlotte Rose Deletto.
Cullen Matthew Decker.
John Doring.
Elizabeth Mary Devine.
Owen Christopher Donahoe.
Matthew Doherty.
Alexander Joseph Dorosky.
Ella Mackenzie Doria.
Sydney Shea Dropkin.
Caroline Mary Dregan.
Owen William Duree.
Ruth Duplessis.
Marin Willow DeZimian.
Michael Patrick Dwyer.
Luke Andrew Eller.
Patrick Eckert.
Samuel Ellis.
Catherine Therese Eigen.
Annabella Falkenberg.
Catherine Newman Epstein.
Maura Ferrin.
Xingyu Fan.
Jonathan Field.
Sarah Fiddler.
Kylie Madison Finkelstein.
Santiago Figueroa.
John Patrick Foley.
James Joseph Finkelstein. Colin Jeffrey Fitzgerald.
Francesca Forrester Franz.
Jake Michael Fortuna.
Andrew D. First.
Carly Ann Fronapple.
Matthew Preston Gallup.
Sophia Caroline Gallardi.
Stuart Addison Garrett Jr.
Emma Lauren Garlick.
Jack Nicholas Giacopelli.
Sophia Garzinski.
Carly Gladson.
James Gilman.
Colin Jeffrey Glynn.
Samantha Rose Glunk.
Matthew Gorman.
Emma Nicole Goodhart.
Evan T. Gottlieb.
Olivia Grace Gorski.
John Philip Grogan.
Samantha Kaylee Greenwood.
Patrick Grasso.
Cara Marie Grow.
Ozani Josie Gio.
John Grapuso.
Colleen Delia Hannon.
Kate Sterling Hackett.
Nyla Hawk.
Cameron Hawk.
Maxwell Roger Harwell.
Caden William Hartzell.
Julia Quinlan Hearn.
Tess Caroline Healy.
Eloise Hahn Hilgendorf.
PJ Henwood.
Addison Walkley Hill.
Hugo Alfred Hilgendorf V.
Stephen Joseph Hoffhines.
Charles Jacob Hilsenrath.
Kyle Hollerith.
Brendan Patrick Holland.
Angela Emanuel.
Emmett Robert Hines.
Felipe Izureta.
Aislinn Eve Ingraham.
Anna Louise Jesse.
Sophie Olivia Jepson.
Caitlin Rose Johnston.
Aiden Sean Johnson.
Samuel Hannes Kaplan.
Kate Johnston.
Connor Cornelius Keene.
Alexander Conrad Karski.
Grace Elizabeth Kneebone.
Ride Khan.
Jack Philip Conrad.
Daniel Kohler.
Amuda Morelli Krishnan.
Jackson Corey.
Sean P. Ladvig.
Hayden Thomas Lacey.
Halsey Cole Larson.
Luke Lagunowich.
Jasmine Lulu Lewin.
Alexander Chester Lee.
Matthew Joseph Lonergan.
Isabella Francesca Locanti.
Austin Lowe.
Christina Losaco.
Taryn Elizabeth Lucy.
Paige Alicia Lubrano.
Thomas John Ronald Mackesy.
Rebecca Oxnard McGill.
Julian Blake Maiolo.
Kevin Aloysius Mahoney.
John Malanga.
Tatiana Josephine Maximo.
Thomas John Manicone.
Joseph Vincent Manicone.
Alexander Harry Margulies.
Theodore Robert Manita.
Aiden Joseph Marinan.
Elise Marie Marion.
Gavin Daniel McCarty.
Kira McCarran.
Kylie Grace McGlynn.
Owen McClintock.
Ilana Janet Uma Srivastava McQueen.
Catherine Clancy McManus.
Mia Medvin.
Ethan Alexander McCrae.
Jane Patricia Myers.
Braden Thomas Molina.
Anthony James Miller.
Olivia Nicole Myers.
Kirsten Janet Molinaro.
Sarah Eileen Mitzak.
Nora Rose Murphy.
Josephina Monge.
Luke Valaire Nassif.
Brian Thomas Murray.
Ava Rose Nessie.
Andrew O. Nedges.
Olivia Kasha Nevin.
Emma Flynn Nevin.
Grace Lynn Nugent.
Claire Elizabeth Nowikas.
Jackson Elliott O'Brien.
Mia Neidham.
Andrew Philip Oliveira.
Catherine Marjorie O'Neill.
Nina Mary Pacquiao.
Azra Ozen.
Samuel Harrison Payon.
Elise Panagakos.
Jack David Pasacreta.
Michael Park.
Elizabeth Kelly Pashenko.
Nicholas Antonio Pascarella.
Madeline Elizabeth Peckham.
Saurav Patel.
Finn Courier Peters.
Olivia Ann Peckham.
Devin Paul Petrullo.
Sarah Elizabeth Pettigene.
Tessa Elizabeth Lucille Powers.
Jake Ryan Ponsiglione.
Mayuri Pirani.
Jennifer Pridham.
Campbell Stowe Reagans.
Zaina Qureshi.
Mihir Rao.
Joytil Rai.
Liam Brian Ronick.
Fiona Mary Roush.
Hannah M. Regan.
Caroline Secor Regan.
Ezra Chaim Richmond.
Tegan Rakiki.
Bridget Jacqueline Robinson.
Alice Robiano.
Campbell
Tyree Daniel Robinson.
Ryan Patrick Roscoe.
Winston Albert Roos.
Lillian Rowland.
Brady Roulard.
Natasha Sabi.
Kate Elizabeth Ryan.
Victoria Sales.
Niall Sabi.
William Stephen Schelling.
Kylie Ray Schaefer.
Susanna Submersion.
Jack Roger Scanoni.
Samantha Serban.
Tommy Sennett.
Hannah Pearl Sherman.
Arnie Seth.
Sophie Silverman.
Claire Elizabeth Siebert.
Charlotte Chan Sue.
Cameron Jane Sims.
Alicia Aria Soman.
Lindsay Nicole Sofo.
Sydney Mertz Spiro.
Nicholas James Sordillo.
Lena Sriji.
Jackson Sprague.
Elia Elizabeth Stepanian.
Kane Edward Stanzak.
K. Daniel Keto Stevenson.
Kendall Reagan Sullivan.
Risha Sarana. Scott Zillard Soleil.
Anna Claire Suter.
Ella Wick Tedesco.
Despina Zoe Tarhanides.
Aaron James Tavati.
Nicholas Thomas Tether.
Peter Thomas Tolkien.
Gabriel Toledo.
Edward Anthony Toro Jr.
Alexandra Tornberg.
Timothy Daniel Triano.
Grace Campbell Tortorella.
Christina Marie Simbukas.
Chloe Demi Sesicus.
Madison Ulrich.
Jax Ulbrich.
Giselle Maduri Urashima.
Mark Untalan.
Pranav Venugopal.
Audrey Van Wee.
Julia May Vinnick.
Emily K. Vespasiano.
Mikhail Zaleh Wahidi.
Ella Jane Wagner.
Sophia Walmsley.
Owen Whalewander.
Lucas Wente.
Nathan Parker Went.
Caroline Virginia Whiteman.
Andrew James West.
Maxwell Cruz Williams.
Kevin Nelson Williams.
Amelia Hope Mariam Willman.
Reed Thomas Williams.
Sebastian Xingyue Wu.
Liam Vincent Windles.
Christy Zhu.
Catherine Eleni Zykes.
Kevin Young.
Lara Yasikevich.
Cynthia Zhang.
Gabriel Ibrahim Zarban. Mariana Zingoni.
That's well done, graduates. Congratulations. Just by way of introduction, some of you know me since you were born. Some of you just met me tonight. My name is Jill Weber. I'm the president of the Board of Education, and this is really the only perk that comes with the job. So if you bear with me, the good news is you're about 60 seconds from that door. So if you just hang on. And you didn't really think you'd get out the door without hearing from a parent, right? I mean, if you did, that's adorable, but it wasn't going to happen. I just wanted to remind you, Jack mentioned that you're stronger than you think. I just want to mention that if you look at the teachers on either side of you and those that they represent, they are the best in the business. They have prepared you so well, you're going to find yourselves with some free time on your hands. I know you think it's the norm what you've accomplished, but in about 10 weeks, you're going to say, oh yeah, that crazy lady was right. I am prepared. When you come up against your contemporaries, you're going to find yourself with a lot of free time. I would just ask you that you remember this. Please take advantage of it as much as you can. Take every opportunity that comes your way. Make sure that you jump into things that you're passionate about. Try new things that you've never tried before. This is the time You have every opportunity, and this is the time to not sit on the sidelines and jump in. The only other thing I want to remind you as a parent, I'd be remiss if I didn't, you are going to meet some amazing people. You're going to have some incredible times. You're going to be challenged to make some decisions on your own. And you're going to make mistakes, right? We all do. I try and limit mine to 1 or 2 a week. But you're going to make mistakes. All that I would ask you is let them be your mistakes. Don't follow somebody else into their harebrained scheme. Let it be your mistake, and that's okay. You learn from it. Remember, you're Chatham. You take the lead. Let them get in line behind you and follow you. So if graduates, if you would stand, that would be great. And if you would, move your tassels from right to left, and I congratulate the class of 2022. Woo!